So welcome on this new episode of the benchmarks, and today we'll move on. We'll move on G2, and we'll see what G2, the current world champion on the MSI, can do. So we will start up with Caps, who is a very aggressive player, willing to roam as much as possible without focusing one side in particular. Really unpredictable, whose fighting records are excellent. However, he still lacks some map control. Like, he mainly plays roamer, like we can see there, like that's pretty much all he plays, but he's really unpredictable. Like, he moves everywhere, like you can't say what he will do, and he also like moves a lot. Like, he has 5 more implications per game on average, which is enormous. It fits the European playstyle, which is to roam a lot and to have a high tempo games. It dies a lot, but on those picks it isn't really a problem since he's meant to snowball the map, and that's what G2 does better, which is to win games fast through mid-game victories. Like, it just needs to be a bit better on vision control, but is already an incredible player and probably a world-class mid laner. Moving on to Jankos, which in my opinion is one of the best, very best jungler in the World Championship, tied with Tarzan and Fleet. So Jankos is, like, without a doubt the best jungler in the LEC. Like, we can see that he can play a wide panoply of champions, from bruisers to mages to tanks. Like, there is no problem. He can play everything, and he can play everything cleanly and wisely. Like, we can see his fighting skills. So we see those there are excellent. Like, he has a very high average KDA, and he has a very good map control. He offers lots of CCs. He has a very good economic input, and he is roaming all over the map, making him unpredictable on what he does. He isn't afraid to dive. Like, we can see 20.5% of dives when he is on the red side, and 24.3 when he is on the blue side. And this is about the same for every single category, which is incredible. Like, on tanks, he ganks a little bit less, but this is like on the blue side, it is still enormous. This is 6 implications before 15 minutes, which is really a lot. So yeah, Jankos for me is one of the very best junglers and the best jungler in the LEC. Now we'll move on to Mikey X, which is the silent force for G2, with a lot of playmaking potential as well as map control. He sits above average in every single field, finds a lot of successful roams, and has a decent map control. So yeah, Mikey X is also pretty impressive. He's doing everything better than others, and is like like every member of G2 better than the average on every single field. So yeah, we see, like, on enchanters he's doing really fine, and like he's roaming all over the map, and he's also controlling the vision, which is excellent, and he has a pretty clean record of that's 11, 12 and 2 on enchanters, which is excellent. Not 12 and 3, sorry. Now move on to Perks. The old mid laner is now reformed into a AD carry, and what we can say is that he delivers. He is playing really aggressively, sitting above average of in damages per gold spent per minute, which is kinda rare. Because most AD carries qualified for world championships tend to be really safe players and not really aggressive, and he is willing to be aggressive, and he receives a lot of jungle pressure with dives, which means he can push his lane and really pressures the opponent. His KDA compared to the spring split is really high. Like, he is sitting at like 6.31, 1.6, 6.31, which is enormous, and he has a decent map control, which is also very correct and very decent. We can also mention that he plays a lot of mages since he's a reformed mid-laner, but he didn't play them on Summer Split, and in my opinion it just means that he's hiding them to better pull them out at the World Championship and to beat international teams such as IG, SKT, etc, etc. So now to finish up, we'll move to Wunder, which is the top laner of G2 Esports. So he's a composed player whose stats aren't impressive, but you can always rely on him if you need to play around him. But more importantly, like, he would just play his lane safe and get out of lane like being normal with a pretty high farm. He is getting more goals than his opponents in average. His vision control is a bit low, but it is okay since he isn't receiving as much pressure as bot lane. He's a bit under everyone and not as impressive as other G2 members, but it is still a liability and you can count on him if you need to. So to conclude, G2 are the definition of the instinctive players, and they completely redefined the way to play League of Legends in 2019. Before that, we had a very control-ish way to play that was dominant, but after G2 come, like, it was more about a really aggressive playstyle and snowballing games and ending games before 30 minutes, which wasn't really the case before. And G2 are expert at doing that, are really roaming, putting rhythm into the game and snowballing the games and winning them. They are excellent in early skirmishes where they almost win every fight. I would say it is really hard to get the better on them in the early game, since they have really good communication, good focus. They are not afraid to dive, and this is something that we saw in the play-ins, is that when you are ahead you struggle to dive the enemy team and to snowball the game on that, and they aren't afraid to play that way, which is extraordinary in my opinion. So they are EU main hope for the 2019 World Championship, and I hope they will deliver. Like, for me, they will end up first in Group A before Griffin and Cloud9 and HKA. So I have high hopes for G2, and I hope they will win the whole thing. So thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next episode of the Benchmarks.